Hi guys, GeekyGlasses here and welcome back to the Obscure Review, where each week we spotlight another gaming obscurity. This week it's Japanese oddity, Hyper Crazy Climber. Hyper Crazy Climber is a Japanese exclusive PS1 game. It's actually part of a larger franchise that started in Japanese arcades and eventually, through sequels, made its way to home consoles. This is the third game in the series and the first home release. Although originally it never travelled its way to Western shores, it has now been released on the American PSN as part of their campaign that introduced a variety of import titles. So there's a bit of context behind the history, but what about the game? Well, in it, your task is to pick one of 3 cutesy cartoon characters and climb your way to the top of each of the skyscrapers that make up the levels, while seemingly everything on the planet tries its best to murder the hell out of you. You'll have to dodge knights throwing books, opening and closing windows, gates that'll jam your fingers, swooping eagles, gorillas with boxing gloves, the list goes on. The fun in the game comes from the sheer challenge of it all. The game is hard, like really hard. You occasionally get items that will help you in your race to the top, but still be prepared to see the game over screen a lot. Oh, and when you first start up, your initial challenge will simply be in working out the controls. Obviously everything in this game is in Japanese, including the instructions, so the footage you are seeing here is just me being confused about how I even begin to make any progress on this game. You'd think to move left would be just left. On the default control setting, it's actually left and square. Right is right and circle. And to carry yourself upward, you have to alternate between down and triangle and up and X. It's crazy confusing, but if you go into the options and change to control option 1, I found it's a lot easier and makes the game still challenging, but a lot more enjoyable. Forget about control method 3 though. That requires 2 controllers, each controlling one side of the body, and it's just a bit mental. Once you get the controls out of the way, the gameplay is actually a lot of fun. It isn't going to revolutionise your world or anything, but it's a great feeling to finally get to the top of a tower and be rewarded with a gloriously awful PS1 era cutscene. This is kinda one of those quickie pick up and kill 5 minutes games. You can't really put a lot of hours into it, since it only has 6 levels, and once you've mastered them, they become a lot easier to beat. It isn't exactly a game of the year, or even a game with depth, but that's okay, because it captures the feel of the arcade. If you can get behind the gameplay, then this is a great title to spend some time on when you haven't got all that much time. It does have one major flaw though, and that's more to do with the PS1 tech and game design at the time, but every time you get the game over screen, there's literally no way to continue, so the game just resets and you have to load up the whole thing again. It doesn't sound like any major inconvenience, but on your first playthrough you'll be dying a lot, and you'll start to really hate this guy in the opening cutscene's face. Overall though, while it's not the best game in the world, I'd say if you're a fan of odd little titles with a bit of coin to spare, it's worth picking up. If nothing else, it's really fun to put friends on with no explanation to the controls and watch them struggle. But maybe I'm just a sociopath. Anyway, that'll be it for this week's Obscure Review. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and feel free to comment with the title you think we should look at. We'll see you again next Friday with another look at an obscure game you might have missed.